Okay, so you have your season with the Celtics, and then in 1995, you left the NBA and you went to Greece. Back then, the European League wasn't what it is today. So what led you to actually leave the NBA and go to Greece?
Well, I was, again, in a situation when I was with the Celtics, I was playing under Chris Ford. He was our coach. And it was an opportunity. It was the lockout year, actually. It was the lockout. And so the Greek team asked me would I come over for a vacation and visit. I went over there and visit, and it was just one of the most breathtaking moments I've ever had as a player, to be treated the way I was treated in Greece. They gave you the world. And so I was like, how can I turn this down? And I was the highest paid guy in Europe at that time. I mean, soccer or basketball. So it was just an offer I couldn't refuse.
Well, right, because you had 2 years left on your Celtics contract, but you had a buyout option.
Right.
So they basically bought out your contract and gave you $7 million for 2 years, which is $3.5 million a year, which, like you said, was the highest paid athlete in all of Europe, more than the soccer players.
Yeah. I made more than that. I mean, it took a lot for me to leave, the NBA, but they took care. And you don't pay for anything, especially in those days. Everything is taken care of.
Well, yeah, I heard the house they put you in had like gold toilets.
Something like that. Something like that. It had kitchen on every four floors, all marble, 14 karat gold. It was a stupid house.
Right. So now you're playing for Greece, but the fans over there are different than the fans over here.
Yeah.
And what are they like throwing coins at you like when you first got on the court?
Well, the Greek fans is the most fanatical fans in the world. I mean, they are uncontrollable. But yeah, what they do, they take coins before the game and they throw them on the floor. And so if you notice all the European courts, the benches where the shields go up and out, so when the coins hit it, it don't hurt the players. And this goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes. This is a tradition. And so the first time I was there, I got hit with a coin in the layup line and I got cut. And I remember going to the locker room. I said, I'm not coming back out. They said, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's tradition. I said, I'm bleeding. This ain't no tradition, but I ended up going back out and you got used to it. So, after a while, it didn't really faze me as much because like I said, it only lasts for a few minutes. You sit there on the bench and you let, the fans do their thing and then you start the game.
Well, when you got over there, originally it wasn't really working out. I think you mentioned that you were being treated like a dog by the coach.
Well, a lot of Yugoslavian coaches over there are very tough. They're really, really tough. And we had a coach, I think his name, Malikovic, I forget his name. And he used to make us jump rope, right? Which is no problem. But when you got to jump rope sideways and go down the court and back, jump rope, I said, no, I'm not doing that. I said, that's an accident waiting to happen. So I remember we win our first 12 or 13 games. And I remember the coach go to one of our players and he said, Dominique is asshole, but we need him. So he didn't complain too much because we was winning. And we ended up winning the European Championship that year.
Right. But didn't you get fined $50,000 because they said you were making too many trips back home?
Yeah, my father passed. And I would have paid more, because that's my family. But just the crazy thing is if you had a death in the family, they didn't really care, because I said, look, I'm going, my grandmother and my dad passed. And I had to sneak out like at 3:00 in the morning to get a flight out of there, and you couldn't tell them because they would hold your passport, So yeah, there's a couple of times I snuck out. So yeah, they telling the truth about that one, but there's a reason for it.
Okay. Well, that next year when you were in the EuroLeague Final Four, I mean, you had a solid year, but they ended up not winning. And then when it came time for them to pay up, it became an issue.
Well, I was hurt, so I didn't play in that final game because I was hurt. And so they said, go back to your United States, come back next year, we start this all over again. And then, so when I got there, they said, by the way, we're not paying. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, you're paying if you want to or not, because you forgot you put all the money in the U.S. bank, so I can go take it over. So I ended up getting paid, but the fact that they threatened you with that it was amazing because they did it on a regular basis, not just to me, to a lot of players.
Well, right. I mean, you mentioned you had the money in your bank account in the U.S., but they actually filed a lawsuit that prevented you from taking like $4 million out, right?
They lost that lawsuit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, but how upsetting was that? You got $4 million sitting in your bank account, and suddenly you're told you can't take it out.
They thought that the same rules applied here in the States, and it didn't. And it really wasn't. The case wasn't even long. I mean, it may have lasted a week. You know, and like line of credit is what it is. Line of credit. You know, that's in your name. You can do whatever you want. But they tried, but it didn't work.